if I may ask a question, and
Sure.
this is Dennis from Boca Raton, Florida. I'm a new agent here. And by the way, just got a mentor, Gerard, really great person with Shark Team. My question to you is this. So I had a deal where got the buyer to agree to terms. Everything was great. It's a very small barbershop. And then the owner of the barbershop, who is elderly gentleman retiring, he basically, even after we completely met full asking price, okay, cash, by the way, he kind of changed his mind. Did you ever have a situation where a seller of a business, maybe retiring, start having a second thoughts, and how do you convince them to maybe go with the original plan? Can you please share your experience?
Sure. So, yes, it's not uncommon. And the the thing is you have to try to assess that from the beginning, from their very first conversation with the seller. It's, why do you want to sell? What's motivating you now? Why do you want to sell? They say, well, I want to retire. Okay, but why now? Have you thought about it before? Have you tried to sell it in the past? And what are you going to do next? What are you going to do when you retire? Where are you going to go if you're not coming to the barbershop every day? And you just kind of take a deeper dive into that, because if they can't answer those questions and they don't know what they're doing next, then the odds are you're going to get down to the end of the transaction. And for many small business owners, the one thing you have to understand is that their business is their identity. And they don't know who they are without the business. They have to figure that out before the transaction closes, because if they don't figure that out, the odds are the transaction is not going to close. So I would go back to the seller and start asking them, well, why did you want to sell in the first place? And sometimes what you find out is, they have grandkids that are in the area. They wanted to spend more time with them, or they have something else going on that, that they really do want to have more free time, more spare time. Sometimes you can get them back on track, where they can sell to the buyer and continue working for a period of time at the barbershop. He can make a deal with the buyer to continue working there if that's what he wants. But yeah, you gotta find what that motivation is and what he thought he was going to be doing next. It's better when you start those conversations from day one.
I have a question for you, Dennis. So did you get assigned, did the seller sign the buyer's deal?
I even brought the check. The buyer signed the contract, and verbally the seller has agreed to everything in the contract. And I personally brought the documents to the closing attorney. Everything was nice, and we didn't expect anything. Everything was great. And then I'm afraid what happened was also, which I don't know if I've taken the blame, but somehow the buyer, after signing it and after putting the deposit, got a little bit maybe too cocky and went and talked to the seller. And that maybe kind of put a little bad energy. And I kind of regret not specifically telling him to just lay low, don't engage, don't communicate. And I'm afraid that he kind of maybe in maybe a little bit more, not a polite way, maybe it was some kind of cultural thing, because my guy is a Jewish guy from Soviet Union, old school, and this is a gentleman is a American guy, so maybe there is some cultural things that did not go well. And when they connected, they spoke, then the seller all of a sudden changed his mind. He just didn't like the guy or something. But my lesson to me was never or always do everything you can to never put buyer and seller in the same room, especially just two of them. So
No, I
you
mean, buyer
have to
and
kind of
seller are
put things in the
always,
control.
yeah, but buyer and seller always have to deal with each other, and I mean, you
Yes,
can't have due diligence without it. So buyer and seller
exactly.
always have to be in the same room, and you don't want to babysit the due diligence. That's not your place.
That's true, but still, maybe there was some kind of, I'm thinking out loud here. Next time, especially if you see some cultural differences, you probably want to at least coach up your client and maybe hold his hand, okay, and still be professional and still be respectful of the owner, and just do everything possible. And as a matter of fact, we talking almost every day. He
Yeah.
even came to me. The buyer, even let his wife talk to me, because there's some. I'm almost feel like I'm acting as a psychologist here, and kind of giving them some motivation and saying, no, don't worry, we will convince the seller, or we'll get you another barbershop, don't worry, everything is good. So I feel like we are also have to be acting more like a psychological support for our customers, and not just think that, oh, they're adults and they've done it for so many decades and they're gonna just run, but sometimes they can just maybe cross the line. I don't know, but something happened.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. I mean, we do, as business brokers, we do have to wear a lot of hats. And that is, we do have to play mediator sometimes, negotiator, marketer, psychiatrist, or psychologist. I mean, you are looking. So I would say, Dennis, that, go back to your seller, and if you can, if it's something you can do in person, if he's local, then, make an appointment with them, go get one-on-one, and just ask permission. Just say, can we have a very candid conversation? Most of the time they will say yes. And then just say, I really need to understand what happened. Did the buyer say something that was inappropriate, or did he do something that was inappropriate, or whatever? And just listen and let the seller tell you whatever is on his mind. Now, a seller could say, hey, it has nothing to do with the buyer. Seller could say that literally he just doesn't know what he wants to do next, and his identity is wrapped up in the business. Could be all kinds of things. But if you're going to continue to market the business to try and, does he want you to continue looking for a different buyer, or does he want to just pull it from the market?
Represent a buyer. I represent the cash buyer here, and I found this.
Oh, you're representing the buyer.
Yeah, I'm representing the buyer.
Okay.
Does anybody represent the seller, or was he
Yes,
just?
there is a local brokerage firm, not EXP, but other local brokerage firm represent the seller.
Okay, and so what does that broker say? Have you talked to
broker
that broker?
actually admitted that they had the agent. There's two people involved. The owner of the brokerage firm is a very nice, very polite gentleman, and then Sanjay of Indian descent, who apparently did not even explain about fees involved. So the seller got upset that he had to pay, I guess, 10% of the selling price. So he was not educated. So he got emotional with the listing agent, so to speak. So I'm reaching out to the broker who has the listing, who is very nice, very polite, and the one who actually made the deal, because the listing agent was in India. So and I had a conversation with the agent, basically with the broker, asking him to step in, just like basically what you said to some degree, same thing, just say, hey, look, we have a cash, we got exactly what he wants. Can you try to talk to him and see if he maybe will change his mind? We'll act very professionally. We'll have a due diligence of 2 weeks. We don't want to be there every day. We just want to verify the numbers. Everything is good. So we'll see.
Did they formally reject your offer?
That's a good question. That's also a question I have, because I had to pull it from the selling agent, and all I got was a text
Selling
message
agent.
after ask, yeah, selling agent, listing agent.
Listing, yeah,
who
you're the
just
selling
listed-
agent.
yeah, and they just sent me a text message, and I've been asking. I said, "Can you please counter offer us, or can you give us something in writing, guys? I mean, this is not serious. You just talk. We sign. We gave you the deposit money. You cannot even give us any solid counter offer back." And all I got finally is a text message saying that the seller changed his mind and decided not to sell his business.
Oh, you know what I would do, all due respect. I see Anne has her hand up too, but and I don't want to, overrun this conversation, but I would just take my buyer and move on. I'd get your deposit back, get your client's deposit back, and just move on and find another opportunity, because in that kind of situation, it doesn't seem like you can push these people anyway, and they're not fun to work with anyway. So
True. Well, and it's unfortunate, Dennis, because
it
if
is.
the seller didn't realize, well, first of all, every seller should realize that they're going to pay a broker fee, and it's in the contract. If there's a representation agreement, then there was a contract that should have stated what the broker fee was. So, I think it is sometimes there are sellers that try and renegotiate the broker fee when they get an offer or when they're presented with an offer. And if the broker says, hey, go pound sand, then sometimes they do. Sometimes they reject the offers. But it's, yeah, I think it's just an unfortunate situation. And if you're representing the buyer, then there are other businesses out there. So yeah, Margot's got a good point there.
We actively looking for plan B and C. I'm a big supporter of that, and just
Yeah.
had another conversation. Like I said, I'm having daily conversations. I feel like I'm acting as a support for the buyer who is upset. He really liked the place and this and that. So we're looking for. I already placed some orders with our colleagues in different companies,
Yeah.
Transworld, one of them, looking for a barbershop in a couple of counties here in Florida.